very good morning, and wonderful to be here at the convener of IFTA for last 4 years, and look forward to engage you all for throughout the day. This is the 10th year of IFTA. It's the 10th edition. I think if you look at the history of any of those FinTech events, this is the only event which is there running since last 10 years. So look forward. So today I'm going to talk on the tokenized economy. This is a topic which I'm going to talk on, and how the tokenization is going to add value to the GDP of India. So welcome you all. So I'll run through. So I think last several years we are now part of internet, mobility, 5G. If I ask any of you, please stop your mobile phones for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, or please do not use WhatsApp, I will pay you 2,000 rupees. Everybody is, that this whole equation has gone, right? So we are all part of internet, we are all part of mobility, and that's how we live all together, right? So what India has achieved last many years, these are those numbers where we see as far as Aadhaar or DPI or UPI, that's a now done story. While we are one of those top countries where we are advising G20 countries also how DPI can be adopted by the other countries. We are among top 40 as far as the innovation index is concerned, and maybe the way we have a pace, last 5 years we have surpassed 85 to 39. If you look at our vision, right, Viksit Bharat by 2047 will be 30 to 35 trillion dollar economy, where today we are going to achieve maybe 3.70 trillion only by startups, and we are a second largest SaaS country, and some of the other numbers is like we are the top country for a consumer internet adoption and as well as mobility. I think while we have done so many things around internet and DPI, banking, BFSI, and when we talk about the next stories, right? So this evolving landscape which is being built as far as banking is concerned with RBI, SEBI or IRDA, we keep doing many things from that disconnected experience which we see on the left to the connected experience. And today we might be so happy with the UPI, account aggregator or Aadhaar and so many other things. But if you look at the actual reality, the reality check against a 2047 vision, there are many things to be done. What we have built, all those railroads, but how to utilize those railroads to make a business is very, very critical and important, right? So these are those pictures we'll keep seeing. So today we are in the era of maybe mobile and a cloud, and rather slowly after 2022, after ChatGPT, Gen AI or Agentic AI, so we are almost part of everything, right? So, and every generation of a cloud or AI has brought a new companies. Now, let's talk about what is coming in tomorrow, right? So, while we are so happy with the cloud AI, what is going to come tomorrow? So, typically every country or any company or any regulator are working on these 10 things around the world. Say, increase customer experience or data as a currency, platformification. We have seen so many platforms are coming in. Many countries are turning down to the technology companies, connected workforce after COVID, trust, risk, continuous innovation, tokenization, and sustainability, and lastly DPS. So these are the 10 things. And if you look at journey of any company, fintech, bank, they are always glued around these 10 things. So what we're going to achieve here onwards is like a better personalized experience for customers, better resilient banking, and a better regulatory environment. And as far as the customer is concerned, how do we provide them 360-degree services at any point in time? So if you talk about India and 2047 vision, which is around the Viksit Bharat, it is on the 4 pillars, which is how do we have a zero poor by 2047? How do we have a, like by 2030-35 will be 1 billion people or 1 billion population of India will be workers. That is what does it mean? It is one of 4 workers around the world will be India, right? So that's an opportunity rather challenge. If you look at others like Mahila, right, women, how do you really have a better financial inclusion and better services for women, and ultimately your Annadata, which is like farmers. How can we bring a farmer economy very well? Like today we have 26 unicorns, fintechs or hundreds of them, but we hardly see any unicorn which is into clean tech or agri-tech, that domain, right? So looking at that, this vision of a Viksit Bharat, which is supported by many resilient factors, economy or being a world leader into AI, DPI, be a resilient country with a green, having a good growth, competitive technology, and again it will be supported by many more parameters, right? So I think this is being announced, but BFSI plays major role in this whole momentum. When you talk BFSI, it is driving financial inclusion of 1.4 billion, today maybe 1.5 and so on, accelerating digital financial architecture, fuel MSMEs, or strengthen the trust, power green. And within BFSI, when we say banks are providing these, FinTech come and enable many more things for us, right? So as a part of building next gen digital products, tokenize or expand global digital financial infrastructure, support compliance. If you look at everything, and if you look at many of those fintechs which you're gonna present it today, everybody is around these 5 areas, right? So you are contributing to that. But when you want to achieve 2047, we need to see how do we modernize BFSI. Whatever we have done today, back in 2007, was not there in 2016. Whatever we have done at 2016 and today, the situation is different. So what is that we are going to contribute in 2030, 2035, being a vision of a 2047. That's how we will look at it. So when we talk about India, right, look at those numbers, like India is still far behind. If you look at USA, China, Germany and Brazil, those numbers around financial assets, right, only 1.8 compared to 70. Or if you look at the GDP, which is there, we are just 1.2 and we are aspiring by 30. Right? Aspiration is good, but we need to do a reality check. And while government is announced, are we part of that journey? That's very, very important, right? Look at these things, right? If you look at the financials or shape of the banks today, where lending plays a major role, while we are doing so good now on MSME side, right? So we have reached from 25 to like 15% growth, and it will keep growing. But at the same time, we have seen corporate lending has drastically gone down. And corporate lending is a big ticket. It's not something like MSME tickets. So we need to enforce corporate lending so that they give a lot of jobs, right? They are part of infrastructure of India. And that's how they contribute to the export of India, right? So we need a lot of equilibrium from your retail to agri to MSME and corporate. While I can talk about insurance, while I talk about payments, while I talk about investments. So I think looking at this picture only around lending, there is a lot to do for us. And similarly, look at how IT comparison, IT spends which are happening. Last 2 years, last 10 years, we have doubled on our IT investments in every bank. While I was in DCB, it was from 40, it has become almost 160 CR, right? But if you look at the adoption, actual innovation, we need to really ask. Today, we are not innovating, we are just running banks. If you ask why, because we are part of all those architectures which we have created, and so-called it is supported by regulation of RBI. If you ask any banker, 60 to 70% energy today goes to run a bank in a resilient way, not in innovative way. While innovation is happening at a larger DPI and all levels, we need to see how we are really going to spend. Same goes with your business function or tech function. Now we are always around operational resilience, which is very, very important. But over a period of time, we will accelerate. With that vision, I think that's another way to look at your operating incomes and operating expenses. DPA is awesome, but decade of innovation maturity efficiency has not brought to productivity gains. Or cost to income ratio is increasing continuously. If you are a banker, you will understand what is meant by cost to income ratio, right? So I think from 47 to 48, that 0.1 will havoc to some of these banks, right? 0.1%. So I think looking at the whole thing today, banks are looking at reimagining banking. For example, new way of credit or better operating models supported by AI or blockchain or digital methods and a right risk management. Similarly, governments are looking at DPI 2.0, which will talk DPI to DPI and many more other business models, right KYC norms, digitization of everything which happens around the citizens. And lastly, regulators are supporting very well. I think we are blessed with one of the best regulator, RBI, with better credit, better resilient and the right use of technology. Last 2 years, we will see the way RBI has adopted AI or any of the technologies. They keep announcing sandboxes like Harbinger. I think none of the other governments, maybe, but it is not so visible. So coming back, while we have such a great opportunity, what I want to say that by 2035, everything will be tokenized. Mark this world today, right? One of those times Bill Gates has said in 94, we will not be needing banks, branches, right? And within 25 years, we see the impact. by 2035, everything will be tokenized, right? So example, when .com came in 2000, everybody was running to create websites. Everybody is creating their web economy. And today, if I ask you, please shut down all your websites, that's how we live. We can't live without that. That's how I look at tokenization will come and tokenize everything around us. It's only a matter of a time, right platforms, right regulation, and the right use cases will drive all of us. So when we look at a banking journey, while most of the banks are part of a bank 3.0, and bank 4.0 is all about AI driven, better cyber security, AI powered, and a CBDC readiness. And when I talk about 5.0 is all about right regulation. Imagine there is no need of a regulation. It's all compliance is automatic, right? Imagine digital identity is always there. Your account is always there. You just have to prove this is my account and give a consent only for 2 days or 2 months. So that kind of a exercise or expectations will be there from a bank 4.0, 5.0, and that's how I will see this particular part, right, which is the tokenization is going to play a major role. So looking at a resilient bank or a fully AI bank, right, where you can see complete AI native architecture, right, completely AI driven agentic models. I think these are these norms now. I think people are well versed around AI and beauty of those AI like future ready AI banks. But this is something going to drive very heavily. So I am going to touch this part next 10 minutes around this, right? So while in a Viksit Bharat, we said we work on a digital economy, economic powerhouse, financial models, self-sovereign technology leadership. Every part can be touched by tokenization. Every part can be touched by tokenization. And if I drill down the India's need around capital market liquidity, RWA, SME financing, trade finance inefficiencies, high cost of capital, wealth inclusion. If you study this topic well, including this cross-border, in everywhere tokenization will major role. Some of these tokenization relevant activities done by RBI, like RBI is part of a CBDC pilot from last 2-3 years, right, where more than 19 banks are part of that, and tokenization is a natural next layer after CBDC. What we have built with the CBDC last 2 years, and people keep asking why are we building CBDC? We have a UPI, right? But it's the future of money. And the way we are moving from 5G to 6G, and the expectations of transactions will be from your devices, not from human beings. And there we need inherent trust, and these transactions will be done by tokenization, right? So that's the railroads we are building. RBI push for a digital lending, where we have a lot of a traditional PDF. It takes 100 days for a corporate lending. Can you imagine, can we do corporate lending in 72 hours with AI? It is possible, right? So how it is possible? Where the equilibrium of use of AI, use of tokenization will really make it happen. Account aggregator, consent mechanism is one of the best example, right? But how it can be elevated onto the blockchain-backed consent mechanisms. So these are all initiatives. SEBI, RBI, NPCI, along with RBI has announced a sandbox. Be part of that RBJ for tokenization. Furthermore, if you look at warehouse receipting, that can be token house, which is typically used by farmers to get money. Carbon tokenization, this is a new company government has imposed Indian carbon market, right? So KYC, ML, digital signatures, India G20 presidency around crypto tokenization. These are those momentums which we have seen in the last few years. And the way I say, banks are changing now. But majority of banks are changing the way RBI is asking us. But majority of banks outside of India, so-called UBS or Citi, HSBC, they are changing the way we are banking. If you look at on the Google and search any bank name, some of these banks in tokenization, you will find a lot of experiments. Rather experiments, they are really doing it. So one of the output of India is IFTA, which is maybe down the line in the 4 months, we will announce India's own real world asset tokenization framework, where we are tokenizing some of these assets like ships. Can you imagine, some of you can own the ship through fractional ownership, which is going to be reality in the next 6 to 10 months. And the way we will do 1 or 2, the India is always a bandwagon, right? Once we do 1 or 2, everywhere it will happen. So that's another business model. Apart from this, you see some of these banks like Citi Token Services, HSBC, Goldman, OCBC, some of these global banks has really done good job. GIFT City IFSC is working with the 3 of those banks for deposit tokens. So why I am saying is, while we are so happy with building our fintechs around the Me Too models, we need to see how can we build our fintech model for tomorrow's 2047 mission. So these are more examples. We will see JP Morgan, UBS, and so on and so forth. So what I want to say that today when we stand 2025, tokenization market is projected 16 trillion. That's the projection. But more people add the value to this, it can grow more. CBDC adoption today, 130 plus countries are working on CBDC. Capital market, I think 5x efficiency will bring with tokenized securities, and I think RWA is another momentum which is coming up. So when we talk about CBDCs, I'll skip some of these slides in the interest of time. But today I think SBI or Canara and PNB are doing very good job on CBDC with the DBTs. And over a period of time, maybe down the line 10 years, every DBT like direct benefit transfer will come on CBDC, which is programmable, which is offline, which is programmable means it can be utilized within definite time or a particular merchants. While many other countries like UAE or you can look at South Africa or EU are a pro for CBDC. There is another momentum is coming which is called stable coin. It's not a coin, right? If you look at the stable coin is infrastructure, right? The way we have built our banking on a reconciliation settlement, stable coin comes and says that this infrastructure can be challenged so that there is no T+1 or T+2. It is on a T. Right, so every transaction we do, payments happen next day or next 2 days day, and sometimes if a goof up happens, there are a lot of calls to the contact center, right? So I think these are these future of money which we are bringing. So this is a typical model which we have seen last 20-25 years, where when we do transaction, right? So transaction happens from acquiring to the trusted intermediate NPCI, Visa or MasterCard, and on the issuance side, and then it reaches to the core banking. And typically it takes 1 day or 2 more days. If a transaction doesn't go through, disputes, manual interventions, and even if it go through, there is a reconciliation settlement. Now, when this technology comes, which is a distributed, decentralized, I will not get into this, but as a golden bullet, it is a distributed, decentralized, immutable, consistent truth, anything written there cannot be tampered, and it is a immediate settlement. Now, the architecture which we have seen, like this, with so many servers we have invested, can it be like this? You may say no in 2018, but today it is a reality. E-rupee, it is on this architecture, right? Money is minted digitally, not paper, by RBI, and is given to chase branches of every bank, and then it is moved to your wallets directly without ATMs. Do we need ATMs in 2035? May not be, right? So I think that's the reality we are moving, where no dispute, no reconciliation, and it is a ethical crypto, ethical tokenization experiment which 130 countries are doing, right? So which is regulated, central bank digital currency. I think, so what does it mean by tokenization? Tokenization is the process of converting every rights or assets into digital tokens, right? So tokenization can be applied for equity, bonds, and so on and so forth, apart from currency or tokenization copyrights. Now start imagining what all we can tokenize. And if you tokenize a lending book and give it to the market, so the alternate lending can come maybe from end users or individuals, right? So whatever we have seen as a traditional model where we can afford or may not afford to buy a flat, or that can be afforded by fractional ownership. You may own one of the pie of a Dubai-based flat. It is possible today, it is reality, right? Because they have done that job. When are you going to do that? We will do that job, but whenever we will do, it will be the best of the best job. So when we look at tokenization of a KYC, wherein I open my bank account at one bank, can I not transfer the same KYC to the, or KYC right to another bank? Today it takes 5,000 to 10,000 INR to open one bank account, and most of us has a 5 to 6 accounts. At least some of these bankers will have a 16, 17 accounts. Imagine how much load you are putting to the RBI's economy. Open bank account once and only transfer those KYC rights to the another bank, your account is always there. Moreover, you can tokenize how many of Aadhaar, right? Out of those 14, only 3 I want to share, only for a few days. Same KYC can be utilized for mutual funds, insurance, or wealth, or a telecom. That's how we build a dream of a national KYC corporation of India, right? Is it possible? Yes, technically it's possible, but the way we will look at KYC tokenization is one of the use case by RBI, they look at it. So we spoke about this. So now some of you say it is already available, right, in form of ETFs, REITs or mutual fund, it's already available. But how many of you know, right? It is already available, but there are a lot of challenges, limited affordability, limited access, it is a fractionalized awareness, regulatory hurdles, these things are there, right? So I think when we see these challenges are there, and when we are moving where we love all of our assets, so tokenization blockchains opens a possibility of new financial trading systems, right? So I'll just take some few more time. So eventually everything will be tokenized. Look at this, luxury goods, fine wines, gaming assets. You may reading this, somebody is already tokenizing it around the world. Right, look at all these tokenized derivatives, KYCs, voting rights, musical royalty is already happening around the world. It's not something, so in a banking context, you may have a gold and precious metal tokenization, which some of these companies are doing in UAE, or supply chain financing, how invoices can be tokenized. I am an anchor vendor, but how my deep tier financing can incentivize to all of my partners. Or look at a carbon credit ESG token, which will become a tomorrow's model, securitization of loan, mortgages, agriculture commodities, cross-border. So these are all these use cases. So some of these fintechs who are sitting in here, how many of you working on this? You may not, but there is another young crowd who is already building it in form of a DeFi. Now we have to guide them to make it is a very well regulated environment, which RBI is doing it. So I think every business model which we run, account aggregator or customer experience or payments, everything will have a tokenization layer. It is up to we how do we adapt that, right? So I think just to understand furthermore, think owning a fractional ownership of a real estate in Dubai, or think of owning a copyright of a maybe Bahubali movie, right? Or think of a fractional ownership of that Mona Lisa painting. So once we tokenize this, you can always go and go for it, right? So I think when we talk about, I think I'll skip some of these slides, there are different types of, so what I mean to say that some of these assets digitally converted in form of a digital asset can be put it on a blockchain as a single source of a truth. In a predefined method, there is a method of a tokenization from identification of assets, and countries like Hong Kong, Switzerland and EU and many and US with the Genius Act, they have provided this whole method of framework, how do we tokenize, right? So the role of a bank, right? So role of a bank is a asset custodians. Recently, IBM has announced a platform, right? So which is completely ready for banks to build a tokenization. They have built asset custodians, they have built their own token platform. If they want, they can attach to the secondary market. I am not promoting IBM, but the way, look at the vision. Right, so while banks will look at this kind of a solution, they may not go to the traditional or recent so-called Web3 industry, but they will look at trusted partners like Infosys or TCS or Oracle and IBM. Whatever names I am doing, they are already working. Right, so looking at from asset owner to the doing his KYC, there is a securitization of trust and putting it a post-detail audit, put it into the asset custody. I think these whole platforms are typically coming, and there are a lot of advantages. As I said, T+0, 24/7 it is available, fractional ownership, global liquidity. The way interoperability will come, you can trade across the countries, right? So, and while India is doing, India already have those railroads for tokenization platform, so-called identity. We have seen Aadhaar, DigiLocker, or payments by UPI and the CBDC, which is coming in, and the commerce. One of the experiments which we are doing around every EV truck, when it runs, every kilometer is calculated as a carbon token, and it is available in carbon market directly. And it can be sold as a secondary market. So these are those business models which we will see, right, with the ONDC and the security. We are well versed with the DPDP. I think with these 4 pillars and with the RegTech and the AI monitoring, smart contract DLT, I think we will be ahead. I think that's the work CBDC will fulfill, followed by what RBI is building on, right? So I think, so just to asset validation, token design, compliance checks, smart contracts, put those assets into the blockchain, and which is available for a end user to buy one. They can buy, you may not buy the complete building, but you can buy a flat. The flat was not existing in 70s, right? But tomorrow, after few years, you can buy for that flat, one of the token, right, ownership, right? That's how it will look at. Now look at other assets, gold, and just imagine how many assets. You may not imagine, somebody else will imagine and will put the things on the on this model. So I think, and that's more easy because it will disrupt this middleman and the clearing house, right? So that's a model we look at. Role of banks in tokenization is very, very important, where a bank can fund those companies rather than bank that as a trusted party for a token economy, where we can see streamlining the process of embedded compliance, enabling new business models. I think slowly banks will adopt the way other outside of India banks are adopting. I think what is needed for leadership in India is understand what is tokenization, understand tech literacy, data governance around that, cross-functional collaboration within a bank, right? So we never had a digital officer in 2010. I think I'll not be surprised the way we have seen AI officer or DPO. In the next 10 years, every bank will have a tokenization officer, right? So that's how we look at. India has a good story which we have seen with digital infrastructure, better regulator, better skills which are available, and better governance. With all these things, I think we'll be this overnight job, which is not an overnight job, but with all these pillars, we'll be able to do a better job for all of us. I think at a global level, a lot of things are happening. Yeah, give me 5 minutes. So what I meant to say that in a nutshell, I'll just scroll some of these. For agriculture, you will see a lot of use case, also banking on a tokenization, and it's really happening. Some of these use cases like milk business, milk coin, or Punjab we're having wheat coin. These are those realities we will see over a period of time. I think just touch base me or I'll be happy to share this deck. You will see some of these use cases which we are driving with banks like gold tokenization or invoice tokenization or looking at carbon tokenization, right? So everything, there are many more other use cases which we'll keep seeing. But look at these stable coins. While stable coin may not be the direct in benefit of India, but if it's really driven by INR backed coin, it will give another momentum for these things. So I think at India Blockchain Forum, while we are a non-profit company, we have a separate wing on asset tokenization. We are party to IFTA, some of these tokenization tries from some of the states which we are working with. So I think in interest of time, I'll stop here. If there are any questions, we can take offline. See, we are looking at autonomous banking, or we are looking at intelligent banking, but this banking will be always supported by some of these models or infrastructures by blockchain. So that's how I look at it. So thank you so much. Enjoy IFTA for throughout the day. I think apart from summit stage, we have a innovation stage. From here, there are master classes, FinTech Olympiad happening in the other hall. So thank you so much for being a part of this 10th edition of IFTA. Let's celebrate the day for FinTechs and let's make it more better banking for tomorrow. Yeah.